Everybody, and welcome to Santiago. To those of you who have traveled to be with us today in Chile, thank you very much for making the journey. And welcome to, I don't know what number Enel Focus On this is, but we've done 5, 6, this is number 6. So welcome to the 6th edition of Enel Focus On. And today, as you know, we are here to speak about blockchain and how blockchain can be used within the world of energy, specifically. But we would like to talk about it very broadly, and that's because, as you know, those of you who have followed our Enel Focus On events in the past, we like to talk about things which are of broad interest to people, issues of current interest, and as my team, many of whom are here today, will tell you, we have a very big emphasis on communicating innovation, and particularly technology innovation at Enel. And so it's in that context that we're going to be speaking about blockchain this afternoon. Before we start though, I'd like to ask if we can just do a quick giro around the group to introduce ourselves. I'm going to skip Joel because I'm going to introduce him in a second, but we'll start over here. Here's a microphone. I hope it's on. There we are.
Hi, my name is Igor.
Why is the microphone not on?
Okay.
It's on.
It's okay.
No?
Yeah.
There we go.
It's working right now. Hi, my name is Igor. I'm from Tecmundo. It's a tech website from Brazil.
Hi, my name is Andres Jara. I'm a lawyer and I'm from Ulster Legal.
Hi, I'm Isabella Penizza and I'm from Enel. I'm the head of the Global Digital Communication.
Hi everyone, I'm Joana Prieto, coming from Colombia.
Good morning, my name is Claudio Suchovicki. I'm from Argentina. I'm CEO of Stock Exchange.
Hi everyone, I'm Franz Russo from Italy. I'm a tech blogger about innovation in social media.
Hi, my name is Fabrizio Villani. I'm co-founder of Fintastico. It's a kind of TripAdvisor of fintech, so blockchain is the right topic today.
Gianluigi Cogo, from Venice, Italy. I'm professor in data analytics, University of Venice.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Camilo. He's Cesar Vasquez. We are the creators of Chaucha cryptocurrency.
Hi, my name is Abel Reboredo. I am a cyber law professor and a practicing attorney in technology.
Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm CTO of Epistemonicos.
Hello everyone, I'm Radu. I'm from Romania and I write for a technology blog.
Hi, I'm Nasser from Spain. I'm CEO of brand Ingeniero Boss.
Hi, I'm Otto from Spain, and we are from Ingeniero Boss. It's a community of engineers in the world.
Fantastic. What a great group of people that we have gathered here today for this discussion. I'm sure we're going to have a fantastic conversation. Sorry, I just realized that I didn't actually introduce myself properly. My name is Ryan O'Keefe, and I'm the Director of Communications at Enel. Before we move to our speech from Joel, we have a little presentation, a little speech from Marco Gazzino, who is one of our colleagues at Enel in Rome. And he heads up a team inside our innovation function. And their job is to explore all of the possibilities for blockchain within our business. Let's hear very quickly from Marco. Can we play the video of Marco?
Hi everybody, it's a great pleasure to be here today to speak about what we are doing at Enel on blockchain. I thought the best way to start is trying to answer that question: what is blockchain? Blockchain is a technology enabling information exchange when such exchange requires to be secure, traceable, and without any double counting problem. Blockchain is currently going through its hype phase, and it's widely known for cryptocurrencies, which is when the information piece I spoke about is exchanged by the blockchain network in a money transaction. But this is not the only possible use case. This is probably not even the most sustainable application of blockchain, and for sure is not the only one. There are much more applications out there, which are interesting for utilities, starting from the trading of energy on both wholesale and peer-to-peer retail level. However, as soon as we started looking at blockchain, we understood that this technology and its innovation landscape is very, very complex. Thus, we started a deep analysis and decided to build internal competences to develop our own point of view on blockchain. This effort required to put together various areas of the company, even those ones which are usually farther from traditional streams where utilities more often innovate. Thus, we involved also the legal department and the trading business line and so on. And by putting together experts from all of those and other company areas, Enel established its blockchain innovation community with the mandate to study and to identify the most promising blockchain use cases for utilities. The blockchain innovation community is the way we explore blockchain by also connecting it with the external ecosystem, including software houses, startups, institutions, and experts. The Enel blockchain innovation community soon understood that to generate a positive and sustainable use case, it was necessary to go to the core of the blockchain technology. And what is blockchain? This is a peer-to-peer network. Thus, we promoted and built collaboration with our peers, with other utilities in Europe. This way, we have established the Enerchain, which is a true open innovation. I would say open innovation in practice, actually, because it is composed by peers, which are also competitors on the market, but which decided to put together their efforts when it comes to blockchain. Enerchain is a consortium of about 40 utilities and energy traders, and actually the number is increasing every day, which decided to develop a private blockchain network led by Ponton, which is a blockchain developer. This consortium aims at reshaping the structure of the channel which traders use to make energy transactions, which is something which happens every day in the energy market, thousands of times. By means of blockchain technology and encryption, Enerchain connects trading companies, allowing them to transact sustainably, securely, and directly in the wholesale energy market. And Enerchain has already led a tangible result. On last October, Enel and E.ON have successfully concluded the first ever energy transaction by means of blockchain. Enel has sold 1 megawatt of baseload power on the day-ahead market. To explain it further, this is a standard energy trading product which implies that every hour of the day after the transaction, 1 megawatt hour of energy is given overall the hours of the day. And now the next challenge of Enerchain is to move on from the pilot scale to a larger scale, able to handle at a higher number of transactions this kind of application. And another experience, and with the same collaboration aim, was developed in Euroelectric. We actively promote the formation of an internal task force in Euroelectric, now including about 20 utilities, aiming at discussing key issues and identifying new blockchain use cases, which make sense for utilities and which are also sustainable in the long term. We just hosted in Rome this week the last steer committee of this task force, and all the team is excited about the level of engagement by everyone and the items discussed. Enel, with its innovation communities, is playing an active role in blockchain innovation and also in other innovation areas, which today may seem far to come, but that we need to look at seriously today, as they have the potential to become mainstream soon, even if today their future is uncertain. We believe that being fast is essential, not to stay in front of innovation occurring in our sector, but always looking to long-term sustainable opportunities, which brings added and shared value for everyone. Now it's time to go, but before leaving, I would like to anticipate that we are going to hear soon more news from Enerchain next week. I do not want to say more, but stay tuned, folks, and I wish you all a great Enel Focus On. Goodbye.
So, thanks very much to Marco for that introduction. I'm not going to stand here anymore because we have a fantastic guest who is going to take us through some of his vision for the present and the future of blockchain. Joel Comm. Joel is, I spent half an hour chatting to him last night before dinner. This guy is quite good at predicting the future, it turns out, which is useful for a discussion like this. Amongst his very many achievements, Joel started a website in 1995. That's 3 years before Google was even thought about. And this guy was already building websites. At that time, there were only, 18,000 websites up on the World Wide Web, and one of them was his. He then subsequently went on to build more websites, selling some of them to Yahoo, I think. He built an app. And at one point in time, his app was the single biggest app on the Apple platform, which is, I think, pretty impressive. And the third, I think, very impressive point about Joel is that he is a New York Times best-selling author. So this is a man with a lot of credibility, looking at the future of technology, and particularly in the world of blockchain. So without any further ado, Joel, thanks very much for being here with us today. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
And I'm really excited because this is something that I know very little about. And I think that all of us are going to have an opportunity to learn. We really want to have an interactive session. Joel's got a lot to get through, but we want to have a discussion and share ideas, debate, and see what we can all learn together. So over to you, Joel. Thank you very much for being here.
Excellent. Well, good morning, everybody. How are you? Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here in Chile for this fantastic event. To all those that are watching the stream, I believe we are also broadcasting it to the Bad Crypto Mastermind Group, which is 7,000 strong. That's the representing my podcast here. And we are going to talk blockchain this morning. We've already kind of gone into the bio of who I am, so I'm going to go through this quickly, but feel free, take pictures, tweet. I'm at Joel Comm. Use the hashtag, which is Enel Focus On, correct? And if you also want to tag, there it is, can't miss it. If you also want to tag at Bad Crypto, that would be great. Make sure that my friends back home see that as well. I'm going to go through all this because you did such a great job. This is the podcast that I and my partner Travis Wright, a leading marketing technologist, we began in July of last year. And the show, because of the sudden interest in blockchain and all the talk about Bitcoin, has taken off. In fact, we've hit as high as number 7 in all of investing, number 32 in the business categories in the iTunes App Store. So it's now, ridiculously so, one of the most popular crypto podcasts in the world. I don't know how that happened, but it did. In fact, this is our growth chart. It kind of looks like a Bitcoin chart, doesn't it? This is a podcaster's dream right here to see this type of growth in a podcast. And I think after our first 6 months, we've passed by 2.5 million downloads of our show already. So it's been a fun ride. And in case you're wondering, why is it bad? It's because I just started going down the crypto rabbit hole in March of last year. And when Travis and I started the show, we didn't know a whole lot, but we thought that the market needed a place where regular people were speaking regular person language instead of highly technical language, the type of language we understood so that regular people would understand it. And that's why it has succeeded. So if there's one thing we know, it's that everything changes. And we look at the technology revolution, it used to take a room this big to house a computer that we now hold in the palm of our hand. In fact, what you're holding right now is more powerful than those rooms of mainframe computers. That to me is mind-boggling. And we know that every technology in every industry gets disrupted. In the United States and other places around the world, we had Blockbuster Video. Who remembers going to Blockbuster to rent a video? What happened to Blockbuster? Boom. Netflix. Blockbuster tried. They tried too late to start a rent-at-home service, but by the time they moved on to the rent-at-home service, Netflix had already started streaming and left Blockbuster in the dust. Nokia, back in 2007, was the world's top mobile phone. What happened? Boom, Steve Jobs happened. How many carry a smartphone now? Everybody. Some iPhone, some Android, but disrupted. Barnes & Noble, big box bookstore in the United States. And they thought they were going to live forever. What happened? Amazon happened. And I remember back in 1997, 98, when they laughed at Jeff Bezos. They said, you can't sell books out of your garage on the internet. That'll never work. Wrong. Not only has it worked, but Amazon is taking over the retail space completely. And now, blockchain. People keep asking about Bitcoin. In fact, several of you asked me last night, what do you think? Is now a good time to buy? I am not a financial advisor. Nobody knows. There is no crystal ball in terms of the price of any one cryptocurrency or any stock. But we do know this. Blockchain is here to stay. In fact, I would posit this. In my 53 years of being on this planet, I say that blockchain is the single most disruptive technology of our lifetime, more so than your mobile phones, more so than the World Wide Web, because it is going to impact each and every vertical that mankind operates in. These are just some of the industries that are poised to be disrupted. Banking is going to be completely turned on its head. If you notice, some of the big banks don't like Bitcoin. They don't want to accept Bitcoin. They're stopping people from purchasing Bitcoin or other cryptos with their credit cards. That's because they are threatened by this. Banking will be disruptive. All payment systems will be disrupted. Cybersecurity, and there's a long list here. Education, voting. In fact, we recently spoke with a company that is putting voting on blockchain. And as we talk about what blockchain is, you'll see why this is so important. Credit histories will be on blockchain. Forecasting, music and entertainment, ride sharing. All of these are going to be on blockchain, including energy management. And I believe, Ryan, wasn't it that you said that the first, why don't you go ahead and just really briefly talk about that? Put yourself on there.
Marco actually mentioned it in his recording. So Enel completed the first trade of power outside of the formal power markets using blockchain. That was back in September, October last year. Our counterparty was E.ON, the German utility. And as Marco said, we traded 1 megawatt of base load outside of the power markets. And that was using blockchain. And that was the first ever trade using blockchain in the power sector.
Good on you. Nicely done. So I think we have influencers here that are kind of all over the map as far as your blockchain expertise. So what I want everybody to do is put your hand up for me. Put either hand, put your hand up. Yeah, I need everybody to do this. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through the scale of a 1 to 10 where you feel like your blockchain expertise is, as I go up from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest level, 1 being I know a little. So who's at a 1, 2, 3? Put your hand down when you think I get there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9. Perfect. Okay, so some of you know a little. Most of you are kind of like, I've heard of it, I can spell it. What is it? Okay, so blockchain is the technology that underpins Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies. It is not Bitcoin itself. It is not a currency in itself. It is the technology that goes far beyond in cryptocurrencies. And it lives out there in the ether somewhere, in the cloud. And if you'll imagine it like a long ledger, that every time a transaction takes place, another entry is made into that ledger. Let's take a look at how it actually works here. In the way of cryptocurrencies, let's say I want to send Ryan a Bitcoin. You'd be glad to get that, wouldn't you? Yeah, he'd be very happy to get that. And so I type from my wallet, where I'm holding Bitcoin, to his wallet, which is a long string of alphanumerics that's usually about 30 characters long. It makes absolutely no sense, but it's precise, and no two addresses are the same. This transaction is then represented online on the network nodes as a block. Simple, right? We're like putting it into a container. It goes into the block. And then the block is sent out to the nodes on the network, which we know as miners. If you've ever wondered how you mine Bitcoin, I used to think, what is there, a little guy with a pick going ding, 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 ding there on his, computer to try and get it out? I didn't understand it. Once I understood mining, then it all began to make sense. So all these computers that are out there that are attempting to capture that transaction, what they're doing is a very complex mathematical calculation. Not going to go deeper into depth on how that works because it's very technical, but all we need to understand is these computers are battling to validate that the transaction of me sending this Bitcoin to Ryan is correct. Now, with the bank system, we write a check or we use our credit card, and the ledger is just between ourselves and that bank, right? And if there's a dispute, we need to go to the bank and say, I didn't make this charge, or the amount on this check was incorrect, and it's just between us and them. With cryptocurrency on the blockchain, it is decentralized so that there is not one single authority telling us this transaction is valid. And what these miners, these computers on the network do is they validate. Now, you could be a miner in China, you could be a miner in Romania, you could be a miner back in Denver, Colorado, where I'm from. You don't know each other, but your computers are all working to come up with the same answer to this mathematical calculation that takes place when I send Bitcoin to him. It's very complex. You can't randomly guess at it. And what happens is these 6 computers come to a consensus. The same answer to this complex calculation is what validates the transaction. And the moment that happens, that we have consensus, it's 6 with Bitcoin, it gets written onto the blockchain. Boop, it appears there, and once it is added to the blockchain, it is indelible, it's immutable, it's unhackable, it's perfect. It's written there forever. And it becomes transparent so that anybody can see it. I'm not looking at your checkbook, right? You see it, your bank sees it. But with transactions that take place on blockchain, anybody can go look at any transaction. In fact, you could go on blockchain and go all the way back to the very first Bitcoin transaction, and you can see this address sent to this address. So the ledger is perfect. We don't have to worry anymore about disputes. Now, that same technology that I just shared there that is used for a simple Bitcoin transaction is the same for all blockchain at its very root level. Does that make sense? It's not little guys with picks. But what happens is when the miner successfully creates the computation, the mathematical problem is solved, they get a reward. And it comes from the Bitcoin pool, and that's how they make money doing this. Now, cryptocurrency has exploded. We really started hearing a lot about it shortly after my podcast started. Coincidence? I don't know. And our market cap is a little lower than this today, but we saw an incredible rise. And here's what you need to know about Bitcoin. The brilliance of Bitcoin, it was invented in a white paper by an anonymous person who goes by the name Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody but he knows who it is, and maybe a handful of others who aren't talking. He's gone off the grid, and what he proposed in the famous Bitcoin white paper, which is available at bitcoin.org, you can go read it yourself, is a decentralized, trustless, peer-to-peer payment system that would lower fees. I don't know about you, but sometimes if you want to wire money via Western Union or some other wire transfer, it could take days and the fees are ridiculous. Bitcoin can take 15 minutes, sometimes an hour if the network is clogged. An immutable ledger, it's transparent, it's open source, and there is a limited supply of Bitcoin. Now, the governments of the world print fiat money, fiat currency, and they print it, and they print it, and they print it, and then they print some more. It doesn't stop. Money is just being thrown into economies. What happens to our currency when we keep throwing it out there? Inflation, right? There are only 21 million Bitcoin ever in existence, ever. So I don't need to talk to you about the laws of supply and demand, understanding why this new digital currency has taken a life of its own, going as high as 20,000 US dollars, currently sitting at about 9,000 after a huge run-up. You can see right here in this chart from 2013, the market cap of Bitcoin was 1.5 billion. It was sitting at about $135, and last year, vroom, right now, as of yesterday, sitting at about $8,700, which I think is a very healthy pullback considering it was going to the moon. We needed to come back down a little bit. As far as the world's liquid assets are concerned, Bitcoin sits right about there, a little less than Amazon, but more than Bill Gates and Larry Page of Google. So the market cap for Bitcoin is growing. Now, there are other blockchains. One of them, which is very important, especially when it's going to come to how energy is used on blockchain, is Ethereum. Ethereum's decentralized as well. And the thing that's different about this from Bitcoin is a simple payment. I send you money. That's it. Ethereum allows you to program it, smart contracts, so that if this takes place, then this happens. Again, immutable, resistant to censorship, to fraud, third-party interference. And there's so many things you can do with Ethereum, and people are just beginning to discover this. By the way, I'm talking fast, so I need you to listen fast if you can, because I have a lot to go through, and then we're going to have a great discussion. You can create your own token with Ethereum, which you hear a lot now about ICOs, initial coin offerings. That's what these companies are doing. You can become your own central bank and issue money. I don't like my bank. I'm going to start my own. You can create cryptocurrency that is game-based. Anybody seen CryptoKitties? Go Google it. You can crowdfund companies. That's what ICOs are doing, to raise money for companies. You can do crowd sales to issue virtual shares in your organization. You can auction off limited number of items using smart contracts. The Ethereum blockchain is powerful. You can start your own organization. You can have shareholder voting. You can even have your own country with your own constitution. In fact, there are a group of people that are seasteading in Southeast Asia. I believe it's with Taiwan that they're working, and there's a piece of sea that belongs to nobody, and they are building a floating community that will be its own country. Country of Floatopia. I don't know what they're going to call it. And now we've got over 1,300 coins and tokens, and very smart people are coming up with real-world solutions. For example, there's one called Stellar. Stellar Lumens is their token. Stellar.org is the coin. I believe they're number 6 in crypto market cap right now. There are 2 billion unbanked people in the world. And if we're looking at countries that are developing, where, say, somebody goes to a more developed country and they want to send $5, $10, whatever, back to their family, you can't do that without large transaction fees. Sometimes the transaction fee is more than the amount they want to send. But with Stellar, you can send a payment of, say, $5, and the cost to send that transaction is 0.0001 cents. Very minute, very small, and it happens within 60 seconds. So now, instead of waiting days and having high transaction fees, it can happen instantly. Monero is another cryptocurrency that is proving to be very useful, completely anonymous, untrackable for those that wish to not have the government spying on them. This is one way to make it private, secure, and untraceable. Now, one of the downsides to mining and to Bitcoin is the energy costs. Mining Bitcoin now costs more energy than what 159 countries consume in an entire year. Take a look at this. I just learned what terawatt hours are. This is so fun. Look at how it's just gone up and up. This is to January 31st. So we're at now about 44 terawatt hours of Bitcoin energy consumption in a day. And this is a mining operation. I'm not sure where it is, but when you think of people professionally mining Bitcoin, picture these server farms of expensive gear that are constantly trying to find Bitcoin transactions on the blockchain and process them so that they can win the reward of Bitcoin. Annualized global mining revenues right now stand at about $8.7 billion. The mining costs about $2.3 billion. You can see how this is a profitable venture. If we look at which country is closest to this amount in terms of their energy costs, Iraq would be the closest, and it is 510 kilowatt hours consumed per transaction. Now, this is going to blow you away. We could power 4.3 billion United States households. I'm sorry, million, 4.3 million, yeah. A single Bitcoin transaction, just me sending that one Bitcoin or even 0.01 Bitcoin, processing that would power 17 and a quarter United States homes for one day. That's mind-blowing, isn't it? And yet it's true. As a percentage of the entire world, Bitcoin's electricity consumption is 0.21%. That's a lot for air, right? It's cryptocurrency. You can't see it, you can't touch it, yet people are investing in it and they're buying with it. If Bitcoin were a country, it would be number 53 in terms of the terawatt hours in a year. And if we look at Bitcoin versus Visa, this is kind of sad. One Bitcoin transaction, the average consumption of energy equals 100,000. This is 100,000 Visa transactions, so it's actually closer to, what, 500,000 Visa transactions for one Bitcoin transaction. So needless to say, there's work that needs to be done, and people much smarter than myself are working on solutions to speed up the Bitcoin network as well as to develop other currencies that are greener. One way of going about this is with Bitcoin, we have something called proof of work. The reward comes when the computer does the work to solve the calculation. But can't read this because bad coloring. But proof of stake is a new way that cryptocurrency is looking at doing the mining so that it actually happens locally on your own computer where the transaction is taking place. And this would bring down energy costs significantly. There's a bunch of currencies that are already using proof of stake. You may have heard of some of them, such as Dash. I mentioned Stellar Lumens, Neo, and so forth. Now, this is a good time to mention the statement that just dropped yesterday from the Enel CEO. I'm going to go ahead and read this. After a period of careful study and analysis, Enel has concluded that it has no interest whatsoever in selling power for the purpose of mining cryptocurrencies. Enel has undertaken a clear path towards decarbonization and sustainable development and sees the use of energy dedicated to intensive mining for cryptocurrencies as an unsustainable practice that does not fit in the business model it's pursuing. Now, how interesting that we're here at an Enel event and there's this tension, this conflict about how does an energy company pursue supporting the growth of an industry that undoubtedly is taking over. There's no question that blockchain is it, gang. And in case I didn't make that point clearly, to me, where blockchain is right now, since I was building websites in 1995, this feels like the World Wide Web, 1996, 1997. That's where we are in the timeline. So if anybody feels for a moment, oh, I've missed the boat just because the price of Bitcoin has done this, it's nothing. It's not about Bitcoin. It's about blockchain. So disrupting the energy industry is something that is taking place. You know, as we heard from Ryan, the first transaction, Enel, you guys nailed it, okay? So here's what it does. When we disrupt energy, we can lower barriers to delivering power. We can get more efficient data recorded on the ledger. We can get rid of these old ways. You know, the meter readers, they got to go from door to door and take a look at your meter. They got to eyeball it. They got to see it. They got to write it down on a piece of paper with this thing called a, what is it? What is one of these right here? Oh, yeah, a pen. And then we get more effective pricing as a result of streamlining all these things. There are a number of blockchain-based energy initiatives that are already taking place. And what I thought I would do is, rather than try to summarize them myself, in my research I discovered that a number of them have created pieces that I'm just going to go ahead and let them do the talking for you. So this is a company in Australia, and they are putting peer-to-peer energy on blockchain using surplus solar. Check this out.
Hundreds of millions of people have attained modern energy access over the last 2 decades through distribution networks. More people on Earth than ever before are now connected to ever-growing and interconnected electricity networks. This creates an enormous appetite for innovative new P2P energy transaction platforms. But the community, especially the socioeconomic sector, is negatively affected as centralized power is getting expensive. PowerLedger has created the solution to save the day. PowerLedger, the first commercially available blockchain-based distributed energy trading platform, and is set to become a world leader. PowerLedger takes control out of the hands of central players and puts everyday citizens in charge of a co-created energy future. PowerLedger is giving owners of renewable energy sources the tools and technology to trade their excess power to whomever they choose. Want to trade electricity? Get Power Now, a digital asset and fuel of the PowerLedger economy. Your right choice for a powerful future in more ways than one. Visit our website for details and offers, www.powerledger.io.
So you've got your solar panels up, and you're sucking down solar energy, and you're banking it, and your neighbor over here, he's all out. It's been cloudy where he is, and there's just, you know, you can't even turn the toaster on. So you simply go on the blockchain, and you can buy directly from him. No intermediary, no middleman. The fees, so small and instant. Any dispute about that transaction, guess what? It's right there on the blockchain. Now, that doesn't mean human error can't enter, because anywhere human error can enter, it most certainly will. If there's one thing we're really good at as a species, it's making mistakes and messing things up. So you might not have intended to purchase as many units as you did, in which case you might be able to pick up the phone and say, I made a mistake. But in and of itself, on the blockchain, these transactions are immutable, irreversible, they're permanent. Did you ever, back when I was growing up in grammar school, our teacher would tell us, careful, that can go on your permanent record, right? Don't do that, it'll follow you everywhere you go. With blockchain, it actually does go on your permanent record. That's great, we're not gonna use all that. We're talking and listening so fast, we're gonna have great discussion. Here's another one that's very similar. I don't have a video for them, but Kilowatt Coin. Recently, John McAfee, regardless of what you think of him, tweeted about this crypto that is also solar-based. Here's another one. They're actually entering their ICO right now, WePower.network. Check out what they're doing.
Hi, I'm Nikolai Martiniuk, co-founder and CEO of WePower. For the last 10 years, I'm working in energy industry, building energy and solar plants, and selling green energy to the final consumers. Knowing energy business inside out, I know that green energy revolution is needed more than ever. The world still runs on dirty energy. Changing this from top down is difficult and takes decades. Current investment structure has too many bottlenecks that has slowed down investment process in renewable energy significantly. WePower will change renewable energy market from bottom up by connecting green energy producers directly with households and investors. Our platform enables renewable energy producers to raise capital by issuing their own energy tokens. These tokens represent energy that is committed to be produced in the future. As a result, energy producers can trade directly with green energy buyers and raise capital by selling energy upfront. WePower is directly integrated with energy grid and wholesale energy markets. It enables transparent energy accounting and new generation digital utility services. We're currently piloting a nationwide energy data tokenization in Estonia. WePower token sale contributors will receive a native digital WPR token, which will give priority pass to green energy auctions, and will constantly accrue energy donated by producers connected to the WePower platform. WPR token holders can use this energy for their own use or sell it on the WePower platform at any time. To learn more about WPR token, please find the video in the comments below or check our social media channels. WePower already secured necessary partnerships from the current industry players to start energy trading immediately. WePower has a pipeline of renewable energy projects waiting for investment. This enables us to be operational within 9 months in Spain and further expand to Germany, Italy, Greece, and Portugal. Crowd sale funding will be used for global expansion. Join our fundraising that will allow us to roll out WePower in its first target markets.
There has never been a better time to be alive. Innovation is at its pinnacle. Disruption is happening everywhere. We don't have to settle for what's been given to us by the current systems. And I'm not saying, revolution or anything, but there is a revolution taking place with blockchain. It is changing the underpinnings. And if we look 20 years down the road, it's going to be so ubiquitous. And there's so many industries that you're not going to recognize because of the new names, right? We couldn't have predicted. Who would have thought back in 1995 if somebody walked up to you and said, over the next 10 years, there's going to be a Google, an eBay, an Amazon, a Yahoo that are going to dominate? You would have said, what are those? 20 years from now, we're going to look back and you're going to realize there were a lot of what are those? There's 2 more examples I'm going to give you, then we're going to open up for questions. RestartEnergy.io. I was introduced to these last 2 when I was in Davos just a little over a week ago. Does it snow here in the winter? Yeah. It does, okay, because I'm assuming it does. I left Denver where it was snowing as we left. We have mountains too, only they're all covered with snow right now, so seeing this desert-like atmosphere, I love the warm weather, it's great. But I was in Davos for the Crypto HQ, and they had 5.5 feet of snow. I kid you not, it was this much snow when I arrived. There were cars that were covered with snow, double the height of the car. It was remarkable. Anyway, I discovered these 2 companies while I was there. This is one of them.
How long do you think an electron needs to get to your home? Through how many systems does it travel? Are all the processes vital? Because they do cost money, time, and excess taxes. Today, the energy market is filled with unnecessary costs and intermediaries. The system makes it possible to buy energy directly from the producer, even in deregulated markets. We think it's time to take action. We are Restart Energy, the fastest growing private energy and gas provider in an EU-regulated environment in Romania, with transparent online services and focus on customers' needs. Bringing you the Amazon of energy, Red Megawatt Token, Red Platform, Red Franchise, a new energy transaction ecosystem that connects producers and consumers, optimizing costs and consuming green and cheaper energy, empowering token holders with the possibility of opening their own business franchise. Registering gives access to a global energy supply and ability to buy and sell to any member, intelligent Wi-Fi meters, real-time energy consumption viewing service, watt prediction software, able to forecast next day's energy production, franchise business opportunities for token holders. The result? New bridges will be built over intermediaries and unnecessary fees. Red Megawatt tokens are the first to be backed by real energy, contains an initial input of 0.11 kilowatts, function as a crypto battery, accumulate up to 1 megawatt of energy, and are the most cost-efficient battery on the market. Red token holders will periodically receive free energy input from the energy donated to the platform by the producers as a fee. The energy can be stored, sold, or consumed. Only 1 MWatt token can ensure sufficient electricity supply for 2 houses during 1 month. Red platform producers will sell energy at a price 30% higher, while consumers enjoy energy 30% cheaper. Red Franchise. Every token holder will be able to open their own energy business based on the quantity of held tokens, city, region, country, or master franchise. Restart Energy Democracy Platform, a road to transparent, fair, free trade energy market. Become a part of the change. Pay less, gain more from energy trading.
There's always a question with developing technology about what happens to the jobs of these people. We have to save their jobs. No, we move forward, we evolve, and as you can see, new opportunities will open up for those with entrepreneurial spirit, those who want to turn their distribution of energy into a business. It's fascinating stuff. Finally, I got to see a demo of this one. Let's check this out. solving real-world problems. Now, while I was there, I got to meet with a gentleman who's behind Impact PPA. They've got a little time lapse of them building this wind and solar unit here, which I thought was pretty cool. But what you're going to see here in a moment is a demonstration where he pulled out an application and bought energy and then showed me via a live video feed that this energy was being transferred. You'll see that here in just a second. Roof on, there we go. Okay, here we go.
Here we have the demo in Haiti, Port-au-Prince. We have a solar mill hooked up to a 48-volt battery bank, driving a smart meter, and now we have the ability to pay for energy using a mobile application. In this case, we're going to purchase energy using one Gen token. We submit the token, approve it, and there's our transaction. The transaction is approved, and any second now, you will see this light begin flashing, indicating that we have purchased power, and the flow of energy is coming from the batteries through the smart meter, in this case into a flashing light. There we go. The light will flash for approximately a 60-second time period, and then will automatically shut off. All of this transaction is being managed now on the blockchain.
How cool is that? An instant. And so he demonstrated, he did it right there. I'm like, hey, show me. And then they had a webcam focused on, it was a unit in India. And he says, look, just watch. He put it in, light starts blinking 30 seconds later. Pretty amazing. Has this been helpful for everybody? Fantastic. Let's do some questions then. And thank you. This is the don't be shy period. There's microphones. There's one there. I think there should be another handheld that. Do you have it?
There's one there on the chair.
Okay, you've got one as well. So
we've got a couple
if you have a
dotted
question,
around the place,
please use the mic with your question, and maybe state your name and who you're with, and then ask away.
Gianluigi Cogo from Venice, Italy. You say that blockchain is disruptive, but you know that there is a problem. The government, the public sector, no?
Yes.
Is very
The
hard.
question or statement?
Yes, but you know that some goods like energy or water, no, in some states are public.
Right.
Tell me about this challenge.
Well, so I believe what we're going to see are governments that are forward-thinking are going to begin adopting these blockchain technologies because they're going to discover that they can more efficiently and effectively, cost-effectively and time-wise, produce the results that they want, bringing costs down for the people. Then you have those that would oppose this because they sense that it's threatening to them, right? And so there's this, you know, isn't there a constant struggle throughout all of history of the people and the government either being for the people or fighting against the people? And one of the things about blockchain technology is that you can't just turn it off. You'd have to actually disconnect all of the nodes and all of the computers of the world because it's decentralized. There's not any one node of computers that are managing this. So there's not like, oh, I'm going to go over here and flip the switch and powers down the whole blockchain. You'd have to turn off the electrical grid around the world for that to happen. So people want to be free and they want to have choices. And so a free people that are smart, you know, we look at how the internet is being used now for uprisings against tyrannical governments, right? where speech is becoming something that everybody can participate in. And I think that there is going to be this ongoing tension. And it'll be interesting to watch it develop as some countries will seek to squash it and others will embrace it. Great question, though. Yes, sir.
Hi. Talking about that problem with the government, I've heard that some countries are taxing the self-generated energy, so that could be a problem. I would like to talk about this kind of forums where we talk about blockchain, because in the main areas, the people actually think that that blockchain and bitcoins are related to fraud and to mafias and some kind of that. And I really appreciate that we are talking about this technology and how it is going to change the world. I am actually working in several projects regarding blockchain, about dispute resolutions, smart contracts, and registration of property, for example, intellectual property. And I think it is limitless. I think blockchain can be used for everything. And I want to say something that we were talking with Ryan on Wednesday in Lima, which is, are the energy companies concerned or afraid of this self-generated energy that is going to flood the networks? It is possibility to create a market for energy that could put risk on the energy companies?
That's a great question, and I'm going to actually have you answer it in a second, Ryan. But before we do, you know, the question about or the statement about cryptocurrencies being used for illegal or nefarious means, right? We know that nobody's ever used anything like this for criminal enterprises, right? Nobody's ever used fiat currency for people who have, the desire to commit a crime will find a way to do it. The good news is, I saw a statistic last week, I can't remember the exact number, but the actual number of transactions in Bitcoin related to what they think are criminal enterprises continues to grow significantly, and the number of those that are using it for investing and for transactions is far greater. So whenever you hear a story on the news, I mean, what do we think of the news? Are they telling us the truth? Are they there to sell commercial time, right? So we buy toothpaste and toilet paper and all that. We don't know who to trust anymore. And so understand that sensational stories sell more than, in the news, Bitcoin's not being used for crime, right? Nobody cares about that. They want to know about, the mafia using it. So not as concerned. Ryan, to you, and by the way, at this point, your thoughts and on this, not just the questions, but thoughts, we're going to create a healthy discussion here, and let's put some of the ideas that have been generating as we're having this talk today out there.
So we had this discussion the other night in Lima, and a great conversation around the energy industry and what we're doing at Enel in terms of embracing the disruption of the energy industry. And that point, the distributed generation point for any utility in the world, they're lying to you if they tell you that they're not concerned about it. They must be concerned about it. It's totally changed the business model of a company that has historically made money by generating electricity in a power plant, distributing it down a wire into your house and selling it to you. Now you're generating that electricity on the roof of your house, so you don't need their power plant. You also don't need their distribution network because the energy is already there on the roof of your house. But the trick here, and this is what we're doing and what we're really trying hard. We're spending a lot of time and a lot of energy to figure out how to embrace this disruption and use it. But the trick is to recognize you cannot fight this. And I think in Lima, I quoted, I think it's Victor Hugo, who said, "There is no army in the world powerful enough to stop an idea whose time has come." And I think, to your point about governments recognizing that blockchain's time has come. It's here. There is no point trying to fight it. Figure out instead how to use it. And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, in our world, in the electricity industry, how do we use that disruption in order to open up new revenue streams. So the challenge, I guess, that we should put to the governments is, how do you use this thing in order to better the lives of your citizens? And in order to deliver electricity to the 1.2 billion people in the world who do not have access to it today. I think, you know, and this is where I think this conversation could become very interesting now. What ideas have we got for ways and applications, not necessarily in the energy industry, but generally for any government to better the lives of their citizens? There must be ideas amongst this group of people from, I don't know how many countries we have represented around the table here, but you know, we've got a lot of perspective here.
To interrupt you, I would like to jump on this because one of the topics that I would like to share with all of you is also, it's really important for corporates that are working and are focusing on blockchain to decide also between a public blockchain and a private blockchain, because we see a lot of private initiatives and they are fine. It's a good way to test this technology because we are in the beta test phase, let's say. But us, as the blockchain generation or bubble generation, because we saw a lot of dot-com bubbles and real estate bubbles, and we will see what's the next bubble that we will face. So us, as the blockchain generation, we share different values from the previous generation. So we want, we like transparency, and we like transparency. And if someone made a mistake, this guy must pay. And unfortunately, with the previous crisis that we saw, financial, banking sector, no one pay. And so we are a generation that raised with different values and different rules. And so the main point for a corporate is to decide how transparent they want to be, because unfortunately there are some sectors that they can't share all the transaction on the public blockchain because of course no one is laundering money anywhere. So
that never happens. No, great point. And I think the fact that Enel is fostering this conversation, they're not hiding. This is brought out into the light. This is being streamed around the world to all your followers. And this is really the key to not becoming a Blockbuster Video, right? A Barnes & Noble, a Nokia, although Nokia is now developing some, you know, playing catch up and doing some great products. They were caught off guard. You're being proactive. And to me, that just reeks of success because you're on the front end of this. Yes?
Okay. Yeah, in the same way. You said that Bitcoin was not the important, it was the blockchain, yes. Okay? And for me, like, the most important part is the incentive that people has to enter to the network and validating the transactions and to have like a through, right? And in general, in the industry, they talk about blockchain, no matter what technology or what things are behind. If there is one blockchain running in 5 computers, for them it's the same as the Bitcoin network or the Ethereum network. Or so for me it's like, I don't know, TCP/IP to the internet and maybe other private intranets right now. I don't know, what are your thoughts about that?
I'm not sure what the question was.
So it was only that for me it's really important, like the network where the blockchain is running, because if there is not enough capacity, like that true is not true, right?
Well, are you referring to the fact that Bitcoin network is congested and it's taking a long time to?
I think it's really big, and it's really difficult to a private network that maybe has, I don't know, 10, 20, 100 computers,
right,
and that can be changed.
It's getting more. It is getting more costly to operate Bitcoin nodes. There's technologies that there is the thing about Bitcoin code is that anybody can go look at it. In fact, any of the codes for any of these cryptocurrencies are usually stored on a site like GitHub, and you can actually look and see the code, exactly what's taking place. And so there is a core team of Bitcoin developers that are constantly debating, how do we speed it up? How do we bring the costs down? How do we bring the fees down? And it is these disputes that lead to what we call forks in Bitcoin. So who's heard of Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin Gold? And what has happened is you have a group of people, sometimes they're very small, that are dissenters, that say, we don't agree that the direction that this is going is true to the vision that Satoshi Nakamoto laid out. Or we think that this is the way that the code should go. So what happens is they make an exact copy at a certain block number of the Bitcoin blockchain, and they fork it. So from this point forward, all of the blockchain previous exists, but from this point forward, it's going to use this new code, and it's a new token that's designed to work a little differently. So these questions and these disputes are what arise, and what do we do as people, right? We go, well, you go your way and I'll go mine. And so now we've got Bitcoin Diamond, and we've got Super Bitcoin, and more forks coming. But hopefully we solve these problems by coming up with better solutions.
I just wanted to point out that blockchain is not like one thing, right? It's a lot of different projects, really different between them. For example, only to give an example, like DentaCoin for the dental industry was worth more than the whole industry. So you say like, but it's blockchain, so it must be good, right?
Right. Well, people are investing in blockchain-related companies now the way that in the late 90s people were throwing millions, venture capitalists were throwing millions at anything with a .com. You could have had gorilla, underwear.com, and you would have raised millions of dollars just because it was a .com. And what happened? Bubble burst, and a lot of people lost money. So what we're seeing now in blockchain, in fact, there was an iced tea company in the United States that renamed their company Blockchain Iced Tea just because it had the name. It had nothing to do with blockchain. And our Securities and Exchange Commission actually went after them and said, you can't, that's deceptive, you can't do that. But this is where we're at, is, once people get in their mind a craze and they see money, this is what drove Bitcoin off the charts. It wasn't blockchain, it was people starting to talk about it and seeing, oh, I can make, 10x. We're not satisfied with 8% a year returns. We want 10x in a week because that's what Bitcoin does. Yes?
Hello. My question is about the education of professionals needed in Enel, in every enterprises and companies and innovations. So what is the strategies do you think that are the most adequate for creating these professionals in the blockchain industry so they can innovate?
I want to hear some thoughts from some of you here. Yes.
Well, there are already some initiatives, for instance, in Spain, where there are courses for especially lawyers that wants to know more about blockchain. So it's like, let's say, in the past, but also nowadays, we still have some coding bootcamp or whatever. Maybe in the near future, we will have some blockchain bootcamp where professionals also can learn a little bit more about Solidity, one of the programming language for blockchain, and so on and so forth. So I think the market will face a phase with a lot of blockchain courses and a lot of expert of something, and we will see. And also another point that I want to raise, I think before you mentioned that everyone with Ethereum, and it's true, can crowdfund a company, and we desperately need regulators to jump on that, because 95% of ICO, I don't want to check their technology because I don't know if I can find something useful. So only 5% is gold, the new gold, and the company, the corporates that will discover that 5%, they will be the company that will succeed in the long run.
Yeah. I think there's going to be, let's pass the mic down here, please. I think there's going to be all kinds of opportunity. We have those in the legal profession that don't understand yet blockchain law. What does this all mean?
We've got a lawyer.
Those in the accounting profession. Do we have lawyers here?
We have a lawyer. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And let me just
These
make
two,
this point is that also, in the accounting profession, certified public accountants in our country, they don't know, they don't understand. They're giving people bad advice. Well, it's time to learn.
Yeah, one thing that I would address on the education part is I'm participating in one project which is called Legal Block. Legal Block is also based on a blockchain community generating incentives that allow lawyers from all over the world related with blockchain technology to basically provide services and even generate tokens that allow to pay for their services on basically blockchain technology or the understanding of blockchain technology. But what is more, I would say, interesting of this initiative is the fact that there are no experts. So everybody is learning today, and that's the way that we believe, at least in this community, that the common wisdom is the key to understand how we are going to address public policies, new laws, or how regulators are going to interact. And as much people participate of this kind of initiatives, certainly we are going to be able to get better solutions. But the law is not written, and well, in the blockchain area, we say that the code is the law. But certainly I believe that there are some consequences in the case of smart contracts, for example, that need to be addressed from lawyers' perspective on their consequences, basically. So I believe that this kind of communities, and Legal Block is one of them, and I invite you to look into the white paper that is published in Medium, because we are working precisely on that, on getting a better understanding of how the technology will impact the world and also how should it be regulated.
Yeah, it's a great point. Good.
Yes, regarding the same time, I'm also a member of Legal Block. I am a lawyer, and we I think in the legal industry there are every day more lawyers interested in understanding this issue. I would like to talk about also legal hackers, which is also an initiative of lawyers who are working in technology in general. And in my country, in Peru, there is an information society commission led by the government, and we are talking about using blockchain for identity uses and registrations of property and different things that we think are going to change the way of the people lives. And I have one more thing regarding the companies that die because they were not aware of the changes, and one is Kodak. Kodak last week, or I think 2 weeks ago, has launched a blockchain-based not coin. It's a
token.
It's a registration of intellectual property of pictures in a blockchain from Kodak. I think that's interesting, especially in this company who is almost died.
Right, they're pivoting. Kodak, they sold the first commercial grade camera for regular folks. In fact, I had bought that digital camera in 1998. I think it was $1,000. It was 1 megapixel. And so they pioneered that, but then the digital camera industry just blew up and they couldn't keep up and became less relevant. And people aren't buying film. And so the Kodak coin is their next step. And that's smart, because you have to pivot and say, where is this going to?
Yes, Joel, I have a question actually from our colleague in Rome, Marco, that we saw the presentation before. So I'm going to read it for you. He's following us on streaming. The unsaid limit of blockchain is the scalability in terms of number per minute. There are many new blockchain-like platforms which are popping up, such as Hashgraph, IOTA, IOTL.io, etc., which promise to solve the scalability issue. So Marco's got 2 questions. First, do you think these solutions will be successful? And second, may the scalability issue be the one making that Bitcoin bubble collapse?
Which would make the Bitcoin bubble
The
collapse?
scalability issue.
Scalability.
Oh, it can. I think that, so I'll address the latter one first. I think that there are new technologies. The Lightning Network is being written into the code that's supposed to speed up the Bitcoin blockchain. SegWit 2x is another technology that they're rolling out. And so, ideally, they're going to solve the problem. But here's the thing. People talk about buying with Bitcoin. Many of the world's investors that are buying Bitcoin aren't thinking about going down to Starbucks and buying with Bitcoin, though Starbucks is going to start taking it because it is slower, right? I can put my Visa in, boop, 10 seconds later, my transaction's done. And Bitcoin needs to get to the place where it can be that fast in order for it to happen. Rather, investors are looking at it as digital gold. This is a new store of wealth because they're limited in supply and there's much demand for them. It has the brand recognition, and so people are seeing this is where we're going to store wealth, but there's other cryptocurrencies built on other blockchains that are faster. I talked about stellar lumens. 30 seconds, it's done. Tops anywhere in the world. It's fast. BitShares is another one that's super fast. And so, are they going to be able to speed it up quickly enough? I don't know. I did, there's an exchange called Coinbase.com that you may have heard of, and they partnered with a company that has a Visa debit card. It's called the Shift card. I actually have one of them. I don't have it on me, but it looks like your traditional debit card, and I use it as any other debit card, but it pulls Bitcoin from my Coinbase wallet. So they're instantly doing the calculation. At this moment, this is what it was worth, and somehow it works, but we need to get to that level. The first part of the question, which I forgot, was?
It was always still about the scalability. Wait a second. Do you think these solutions will be successful? So the platform that we are seeing right now, he was mentioning Hashgraph, IOTA, EOTL.io.
In my most qualified professional opinion, I will say, I don't know.
Good.
Yeah. There's when we're talking about the numbers, your estimate was 95% of the currencies are not going to survive. Look at any business that begins. How many businesses actually survive? Great ideas aren't worth anything. Execution is everything. The market response to it is everything. So there are, for example, I mentioned BitShares, bitshares.org. They are their own blockchain, their own decentralized exchange. We actually created our own token for the Bad Crypto podcast. We have Badcoin, which we've given away about 1.5 billion of them. And there's no utility to it whatsoever. But you can go to the BitShares.
We can play Monopoly.
What's that? It's like Monopoly money. It is. Our listeners love it. They think it's fun. They would love to see it go to the moon. And okay, we're not driving that. They would. But BitShares, super fast and takes up so little of the blockchain resources. So, but they don't have the marketing. They don't have the brand awareness that Bitcoin does. And so in Bitcoin, we trust. So over the years, we're going to see some will succeed, some will fail, some will come out of nowhere and disrupt others that we thought were going to be, out there forever, and many will fail. Some will fail because they're scams. BitConnect, anybody? And some of them will fail because of poor execution or poor timing, or somebody else came along at the same time and had the same idea and pulled it off better than they did.
So, Jill, you mentioned at the very beginning that blockchain is freedom. Every time humans are given freedom, we just messed it up. Yeah. So what would be, what would be...
On a positive note.
What would be some of the maybe warnings we should be aware of in order for blockchain to be really decentralized and democratic for
So there is this fine line that we're coming up to with regulation, right? How much do governments regulate it in order to protect people versus where is our freedom of speech stymied? Just this week, Facebook said they are no longer accepting advertisements for anything Bitcoin or ICO related. I think that's throwing out the baby with the bathwater. You have this burgeoning industry that's getting ready to explode, and we're saying, well, there's enough scams out there that we're cutting them all off. I think so the fact that Facebook is centralized and they're taking the power, that's a bad thing in my mind. I think we need a disruptor in social media that comes along and says, here's social media decentralized, where there isn't a single organization that's going to decide what kind of ads you can and can't see. But yeah, we're going to mess some things up, but we're also going to do incredibly powerful, beautiful, wonderful things. There has never been a better time to be alive than there is right now, regardless of what we're hearing in the news. The truth of the matter is technology is giving more people food and water and shelter and freedom and accessibility to technology that can help for the betterment of their lives. But we're bound to screw some of it up, and that's never going to change. We're never going to, unless we're robots, and at that place, I've seen the movies, we're all dead, that's their society now, so.
So we can say maybe government mixed it up. Yeah. Well, so another question is about smart contracts, no? What about corruption here? How can maybe blockchain help us to, reduce this?
Yeah, so the beauty of smart contracts is, again, you can look at any of the code. You can see exactly what's going on. So you can't, the programmers that are looking at this would go, somebody's siphoning something here. They would spot it in a heartbeat. It would never get rolled out, right? So how can smart contracts then be used to better? I was talking earlier about one called HorizonState.com is the name of the business. They were on our show a few months ago when they were doing their ICO. It's called the Decision Token. And they've said, why don't we put voting on blockchain? We have issues in our country, as others do as well, with voter fraud. We have people that are going from one state and voting, and then they just go over to another one. They go to another county, another polling place, and people say there's no voter. There is. There's voter fraud. It happens everywhere in the world. Blockchain could fix that. Does the government want to adopt that? Some governments would. Some would not. Those based on freedom and a free people, where it really is the government belongs to the people, then they'll want that. And we're going to see some significant changes. We see it happening, in Iran. We see changes happening there. We see changes happening here on this continent in Venezuela that are, the other way. In fact, they're launching their own token, the Petro coin, which I think is just ripe for corruption, backed by the government that's already having some serious problems. I don't know how well that's going to work out. What are your thoughts?
Will you invest in Petro?
Probably not. Yeah. Other thoughts on this idea of the government and corruption and overcoming that? What kind of ideas could we have to solve these problems?
There's one idea, by the way, in South Africa. I'm from South Africa, and we still have exchange control. So the government gives you a certain amount that you may take out of the country, and above that you may not take money out of the country. And I guess that's just to defend the strength of the currency, or the lack of strength of the currency at the moment. But people are now using Bitcoin in order to get their cash out of the country. And I mean, where is that cash actually going? And again, this comes back to my point. The governments need to wake up, I think, in order to figure out how to embrace it and use it in a positive way, rather than trying to say no, because it's not going to work. But I have a question. If you're talking about, we were talking earlier about regulation. If somehow blockchain were to be regulated by a government, which government would regulate it? I mean,
the Republic of Bad Cryptopia. That's what we actually. But wherever you're a citizen, by the way, you can become a dual citizen and join the Republic of Bad Cryptopia. We welcome everyone. I want to make a really quick point about this. Is that when I came into Chile, as in many countries, you have to check. I'm not carrying more than $10,000.
$10,000.
Well, I don't carry my keys with me for that exact reason, because if you're carrying your private key to get in your Bitcoin and you have more than $10,000, do you have to report that? What if I've memorized my key? Do I check? Yes, I am.
Yeah, you have, because it's in your head.
This is complicated. Thankfully, it's too long and complicated, so I don't, but
Joel, I have a question that's sort of related to what we're talking right now. Since we have, you said that people nowadays they're treating the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin as a new form of storing wealth, right? But do you think that there's at any point, since somebody discovers how to turn this into or convert this into real, to have some real value as a monetary value, do you think that at any point in time Bitcoins or any cryptocurrency could become the universal currency or something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there are some who say there's actually a meme going on, and I'm not going to be able to quote it perfectly, but it shows, not Neo, Morpheus from The Matrix, and it says something like, by the time you're ready to convert your crypto into fiat, you won't have to, right? So the future this is the new money, cryptocurrency. I mean, it's just a matter of time. We know what's happening with the economies of the world and fiat and inflation. You know, my dollar can't buy what it bought even last year. Prices go up, but the dollar's still a dollar. And so it's going to collapse at some point. That is the consensus, of economists. And when it does, what happens? Well, we've created a new economy.
That's very cool. I have another question. This is related to the concept of blockchain. So we can consider that it's relatively in its infancy, right? So, and the blockchain is essentially a collaborative effort. I think we can say that, right? And it's quite dependable on people's adhesion. Do you think that the existence of several different platforms of trading energy, like you said, you named quite a few here, do you think that this might spread the people, might scare them away, sort of in making a choice of which platform they should rely on or they should make their business on? Do you think that this might undermine the whole concept?
I think competition is always a good thing. In fact, I'm going to use your backdrop here as a perfect example. From right there to right here, this is the technology adoption curve that we have right here in the backdrop. And early on here, you have your pioneers, and then you have your early adopters, and then you have your masses, and your late masses, and your stragglers that will never, it's your grandmother that still doesn't know how to program her VHS. Right? She's over there. And you're going to have those that I don't care about blockchain as long as it works and I can pay my bills. They're good. But we're probably, right about here right now in this technology adoption curve. And so competition, I think, is a good thing. It's the survival of the fittest. Let's see, will people be overwhelmed? Well, back when, 1996, 1997, we had AOL search engine, we had InfoSeek, we had Lycos, we had Dogpile, we had Alta Vista, we had Excite, and a number of others I'm not remembering, Yahoo, none of which are really on top. What do we have? Google, Bing, a few others, small ones. But Google won. They weren't there in the beginning. So people will choose which ones they want to use based on marketing and actual utility. Great question, though.
But you don't think that this might scare them away?
Some people,
they will still adhere to it.
The ones that are going, would normally show up right about here aren't ready for it, right? Their minds cannot yet quite contain. They're living their lives, and they like things as they are. Don't shake my tree too much. I don't want the fruit to fall. I like it where it is. So, but are we afraid?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
In fact, is there anybody in here, and this is like great opportunity, if you have a dissenting opinion on any of this, don't be afraid. Like, state your case for why this, Bitcoin's a scam and it's going to fall apart and we're doomed and, it's all going to die.
Well, I'm afraid on cryptocurrency in the fact that people with low financial education, they just throw money in things that they don't completely understand, just in order to make 10x or 1000x. And these scare me a lot because my main focus with Fintastico is on finance, traditional finance, how to disrupt or how to help banks and insurance companies to change, to adopt fintech solution. And so I'm scared about people with low financial education try to become the new Wolf of Wall Street, because we didn't start all this movement like fintech, Bitcoin, blockchain just in order to become the new trader, so the new Wolf of Wall Street, because otherwise that doesn't make really sense. As also Vitalik Buterin say a few weeks ago about hey guys, let's chill out a little bit, just okay, it's Ethereum, but let's not go crazy with all this coin, and let's build something useful for the society, for the world society. And
right. Well, we want, obviously, everybody to thrive, right? There's enough abundance out there for all of the people of the world to prosper, and that should definitely be our goal. At the same time, we're talking about adults, right? And we have to be responsible for our decisions. Even if we don't have a lot to begin with, we still have a brain. And just chasing after something because you've been taken by a scam, which we've just seen it happen, right? For those that don't know, the token BitConnect was kind of built on a pyramid Ponzi scheme, and it went from as high as $400 to, what is it, $6, $7 right now. It just happened a couple weeks ago. Fell apart. Regulators in a couple states in the United States says, you can't do this, and they pretty much shut their exchange, or shut whatever it was they closed. It pretty much collapsed the coin. And a lot of people were talking about it. They were on YouTube making videos, get BitConnect, invest in it. And it was a pyramid scheme. A lot of people lost money. Well, your fault for investing in it, for not doing your own due diligence. Cryptocurrency didn't open the door to people scamming people. It's happened forever. Here, drink this and your hair will grow. Drink this and other things will grow. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy claims made out there. And so the question is, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, is how much do governments get involved to say, no, we don't trust you to make these decisions for yourself. You need us to tell you what to do.
Well, related to this, I have a question for you. So one of the advantages of blockchain, the decentralized model, is that it leads to lower taxes because it's not really controlled by someone who could impose bigger taxes, let's say. But aren't we exchanging a controlling factor with another controlling factor? Because even blockchain is dependent on platforms building blockchains and programmers and just, new forms of control, let's say.
Well, what are the laws in your country? In ours, the Internal Revenue Service has said this is property and must be traded as such. In fact, they've really complicated because they don't really yet know how to manage this, that they're saying, we're going to assume that every time you make a trade from crypto to crypto, it's a taxable event. People's minds are blowing up because there's people that do, it's a moving target. The price on this crypto to this one changes. In fact, even if you sell 100 of these into this, those could be broken down into different units because at that moment, and we're supposed to somehow track all this. So what are the governments? How is your country handling crypto tax?
Right now, it's not doing much about this.
I'm moving to
Romania. There's not much talk about this subject in Romania. So, but for instance, many people prefer the normal banking industry because while it comes with a lot of taxes and its slowness, it also comes with a guarantee that in case something bad happens to a bank, the government will intervene and guarantee a certain amount of money. Let's say,
for
at least
example,
that's how in Romania.
Yeah, Coinbase is federally insured. If you were to, if something happens to them, if you have your money on the exchange. But let me ask you this question about the banks of the world. How much do they really care about us? When we put our money in and they go, oh, we will give you 0.025, they don't pay us interest. They're just using our money. And so this is why people are frustrated with the systems that exist.
But how much do you think it will take to reach that critical mass when the majority of people would say, I'd rather have blockchain technology, a decentralized model, than the current one where I have some forms of authority guaranteeing something, and not just in financial sector, in I don't know, anything.
My personal opinion is when they see that they're being taken from, that they're not being served by the institutions that are supposed to be serving them. When enough people say, this isn't right, this doesn't make sense, is there a better way?
There's also a question of comfort, you know. Human beings naturally stay away from things that they don't understand, they don't know about. You know, at the moment, blockchain for most people is outside of their comfort zone. And I think whilst that remains the case, people will naturally stay with what they know, which is, you know, your high street bank.
The traditional model.
Exactly. Just because you know
Whatever
it and you know it and you trust it, even though you trust it in some way, even though you also know that banks typically are taking consumers for a bit of a ride.
1997, 1998, 1999, the headlines were people will never shop online. They want to go to the mall. They want to go to the store. How many of you now shop regularly online?
Yeah, everybody.
Everybody does. So
Yes,
that's what I say to those people.
But regarding to this, people started shopping online because it's cheaper, because online commerce has its advantages in lower cost, let's say.
Right. Pass the mic around. Let's hear some of your thoughts on this.
It's convenient. There's convenience, there's speed,
Yes.
there's...
But if we are going to have many blockchain platforms in many industries, not just financial, will there always have to be an incentive for people to not just use them, but, you know, host them, allow the blockchain to become public and so popular that it can't be messed with?
Let's hear. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I want to address I'm a lawyer, so I have that deformation in my head. And
Are you going to give us are we going to get a disclaimer first?
Yeah, sure, but don't worry about it. But the issue here is that we are facing a change, a disruption in paradigms about regulation, because at the end, we are changing a centralized bias world for a decentralized world, where basically self-regulation should be the most probably the way how you should manage and regulate relations among the blockchain. So what I see is that, and hopefully I'm getting at least as insight on the future, but basically what I see is that the regulation or the regulators are going to interact with this reality, which is really decentralized, where self-regulation will be more important than centralized regulation, and that they are not going to be able to basically rule each of the acts or interactions between people, but rather just to put macro rules that more constitutional rules that help people to, I would say, drive across the blockchain. So I believe that that's a change in the
But
paradigm.
aren't we a bit optimistic about what the authorities are capable of? And
It depends who's in power, right? It really does.
That's right.
And so it changes. You know, I didn't know much about the history of Chile, but you know, I didn't know there was a coup here in the 70s. I wasn't aware. It's like that transforms inherently. This is the state of, you know, this is where we're going as a people going forward. Did you have a comment that you wanted to make as well?
Yes. I have a comment, and sorry for speaking again. I would like to say that although I am a lawyer, I am against excessive regulation. I am pro which is called smart regulation. And I think in this case, we should differentiate blockchain from Bitcoin, okay? And we should think of different regulations for each of these if we need any regulation, okay? Speaking of Bitcoin, I think that it is just an asset like any asset. Like if I have a piece of gold, if I sell it and I make an income, I have paid taxes for that. And I don't think we need to change the taxation rules in any country to tax that operation, okay? Regarding blockchain, I think it doesn't need any regulation because its transparency gives a lot of information for the government to know what is happening, to know what the people is doing or what transactions are making. And if I were president or member of any state, I would be very glad to see what is happening online and on real time. I don't regulate anything about blockchain. Maybe Bitcoins, but I'm not sure. I don't think being afraid of something is that we need to make a decision about regulating.
I don't disagree. How much time do we have?
I think we need to wrap up in the next 7 minutes. So
Okay.
if we can finish at 1 o'clock.
Oh, let me have your comment, then I want to do one activity.
Okay, which is more related to the security, and is coming again from Marco, who is following us on streaming. Because he said that he was convinced by what you were saying about the fact that it's likely that the future will have both slow but very secure blockchains for high-value transactions and faster but less secure networks for day-by-day transactions. What is uncertain is if current technologies will stay for day-by-day transactions instead of having new faster blockchain-like networks being developed. So have you got any comments on that?
No, I think that
So I have a question related to that, to the cryptocurrency experts here. How can we foresee a future when we're not consuming daft amounts of energy in order to execute a transaction? Is that a future that we can see? And if so, how far away is it?
Who'd like that? You're over here nodding your head the whole time. I know you've got something to say.
There are solutions like the proof of stake, when the transactions, the mining process is changing for a better method to create the ledger. An easy method to make the ledger, and in that case the energy consumption is lower. There are also like ideas like Steemit, when the creation of blocks and the creation of cryptocurrency is based on creativity or other ways to value the effort to the person to create who puts in the system. So when the people start to create better ways to put their minds in the projects, like the proof of stake, for instance. In that case, the energy consumption will be lower.
Good.
Let's
can I have
be brief.
another answer?
Yeah, these two. Let's be brief, and then we're going to wrap.
Yeah. So I'm not a crypto expert, but I'm an electronics engineer, and I think right now we're doing all this calculation on hardware that's not built exactly for that, like video cards made for games.
Yeah.
So that drives the energy consumptions up to the roof. But if blockchain is really going to catch up and be used in many platforms, we'll probably build dedicated hardware that will be much more energy efficient. So it's like with everything else that happened, even computer processors and so on. The energy consumption over time got lower because the technology was greatly improved and adapted to whatever task they had to do. So I think we should be optimistic about that.
Yeah, and it's similar to, you say 97. In 97, to download a video and have a really bad quality video of 30 seconds, at least in Chile, it takes like half hour. And the infrastructure didn't change too much. What we did was improve the technology or the ways we use it. So I think in Bitcoin, at least it's going to happen something similar. So we are not going to spend more or much more than we are spending right now, but we are going to build on top of that a much efficient way.
We're going to innovate. That's what we do.
Another comment I wanted to do here in Chile, when you pay with a debit card or a credit card, it's instant, but the commerce is not getting the money until like 30 days
later. Yeah,
that's an excellent point.
I think that's because if you are comparing Bitcoin with that or Ethereum or anything, it's much faster.
Let me give you an example of that in a quick question, and we're going to wrap. There's, when we're decentralizing, think about something that's not a currency or not banking. For example, there's a service out there, I don't know how they're doing, but I know what their intent was, called Musiconomy, that says the music streaming industry is broken, that the artists, they just don't get paid. I heard that you have to do 1 million streams on Spotify to make $400. Artists aren't getting paid. So what Musiconomy intended to do is say, put your music on our streaming service, and somebody goes directly there to buy it with their music token, and instantly the artist gets paid. And not only that, the artist can say, my drummer gets 10%. Instantly, my guitarist gets 10%, my mother gets 5%. You can redirect it, and so the music is bought, it's downloaded, the person's listening to it, and the money's in your wallet. You've already got it. Okay, let's do this really quickly, a quick roundup. We're just going to go around the room, and all of you are prolific influencers, and you're going to go back, home, and you're going to either write or create videos or share stories. I want you to share with everybody the one takeaway that you've got that you can't wait to share with your audience.
So sorry, I have a last question. It's about I can go without take it. It's about how should the banks should do to take care about the advantage of the blockchain.
How should they? I'm sorry, I missed.
What the banks should do to take advantage of the blockchain technology.
So, well, banks, if they want to survive, they should be embracing blockchain technology. We have, in fact, Ripple is a company, and there's a token, XRP, that is being used by some banks for quick settlements, right? So this problem we were talking about where it takes 30 days for the money to come in, Ripple is designed, and it is actually centralized. So a lot of people in the crypto space don't like it for that reason, and it's number 3 in the market cap. So, okay, there's the answer.
So sorry. So thank you for your interviews. We are very happy. We learned so much with you. And we are going to write about how the blockchain can be applied to technology, to energy, and some kinds of topics that we can think the blockchain can be applied to these themes. So that's we are taking, and we talk in Spain about this technology.
It's great. Can't wait to visit your country though. It's on my list.
Thank you very much, Joker. And I listen your podcast in iTunes. And thank you very much. See you soon.
Thank you.
So, well, thank you first of all, because I learned a lot of new things about blockchain and all this technology, and I think you've convinced me that it certainly has a future in many areas, not all of them, I think. I'm a bit pessimistic about this, but certainly in many areas it's probably going to change the world, let's say, with this new technology.
That's good. We need people asking questions and having, challenge it. Because I'm wrong every day about something or several things. I could be wrong about some of this. Thank you.
Get a sea floating country passport.
I can't wait to tell you that today I'm signing an agreement with a Bitcoin trader here in Chile, which is called Sur BTC, and my law firm is going to accept the Bitcoins since next Monday.
Fantastic.
I just want to say first, thanks for the invitation. Sorry if I don't speak too much.
You're processing, I've watched. The gears are turning.
The best thing I can say is that there are no experts in this area. We're all creating and thinking about ways to improve the system. But the only way to create better things is to do it.
Yeah.
And that's why this talk is good.
Very good.
Gracias por la invitación.
Thank you.
So, complementing the answer from my friend Cesar, I want to say that I'm really happy the times we are living in. We are in a super wonderful time to learn, to innovate, to create, to bring solutions not possible to create before, thanks to the blockchain technology. So the main takeaway from this event is all the new future we can create together with this technology teaching people about the blockchain, creating new enterprises, new ways to bring solutions to people not here in all over the world.
So optimistic. I think you two should be good friends. You should get together and have a conversation. Thank you.
First of all, from now, I am more confident. But also, I'm very happy to see that there are many influencers more confident than me.
Well, I'm happy to be here and to see corporate big as Enel really active in the startup and innovation sector. And I think it's good because from top down and there is now a movement to bottom up with these blockchain initiatives. So if we can meet in the middle, I'm sure that something good will come up. Thanks.
I want to thank you for the great presentation about blockchain and everyone for this great conversation. And this is helping me about more to understand better this argument. So, just last question.
Maybe there's some still to come. So,
can be a future of blockchain without Bitcoin?
Oh yes, blockchain exists perfectly well without Bitcoin. Bitcoin could fail epically tomorrow, and governments could outlaw it, but blockchain technology is here to stay.
First of all, thank you, Enel. Thank you, you. I prefer. I think all crypto technology is derivative of the energy. So I prefer invest money in energy company is not in crypto.
There you go.
Enel shares on the Milan Stock Exchange. You can go anytime.
Well, of the many thoughts, I have just one to mention. First of all, thanks a lot for the invitation. As you see, I'm the only woman invited. So, and it means also the first woman for Colombia coming to Enel Focus On. So it means that we have a lot of job to do here because we need to involve women on this. We know also that half of the world is poor, is not connected. Unfortunately, those faces are women in the most full. So we have to keep working on getting more women involved. I created a non-profit organization for Latin America precisely to work for women in technology. So I will invite everybody here to please start working with women and educate, please. We need that.
Wonderful. So glad you were here.
Well, as a woman, I'm very happy to be here and speak after you. No, my first takeaway is definitely I work at Enel and we are organizing this, so it's definitely that we will keep on doing it because it's really useful and we're very happy because that's exactly why we do it, to really be as a platform and to really engage on conversation that are, you know, we might change the world. So definitely that the power of innovation will never die and we are going to be part of it. So thank you, Joel, and thank you, everyone.
Yeah. I guess the takeaway from me is somewhat, I think, related to what Cesar was saying. So how many questions we do not yet have the answers to. This thing is so nascent, which means that we can't even imagine yet where this is going to take us, which is really exciting. That for me is the key takeaway.
We're going to create the future.
Let's do it.
Well, thanks for the invitation. Also, thank for having the opportunity to share with bright people here. And Joel, I believe that certainly I learned a lot, but the most valuable thing is that you challenge us to think in the future. And we are talking about the future. We are building the future, and it's everything to be done. So thanks a lot for the opportunity again.
So thanks for the invitation also, and Joel, thanks a lot for the presentation and the great discussion here. I think that the greatest takeaway that I'll get here from today is basically to get blockchain, the concept, out there to the people and to the viewers and so on. so they can actually know and they can discuss, so to instigate the discussion around blockchain and how it can be used and how it can be applied in order to make the web and make everything better in the internet and so on in our lives.
Well, thank you all so much for having me. And how about a hand for all of our influencers here? And thank you, Ryan and Enel team. Let's give it up for Enel as well.
So just a final word from us, from all of us here to you. Thank you so much. You've led a great conversation. I think we'll all agree. I mean, that was really engaging. We've been talking for 2 hours. It's flown past. It's been really interesting. We've all learnt a lot. And thanks so much for coming down here to share your knowledge with us. Thanks very much to all of you guys, because this thing, it only works because we bring together people who are curious, who come from all around the world, all of the countries in which the Enel Group has a presence. It's great to have you guys with us. Thank you so much for being here. And particularly Joel, thanks very much for sharing all your knowledge and wisdom with us. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks. And thank you very much to everybody who's followed us on streaming as well. One of whom is Marco Gazzino, but there are lots of others. Thanks very much to them as well. Thanks, guys.
Bad Crypto Podcast. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks a lot, man. Thank you.
Un poco la idea es ser un poco el TripAdvisor